Let's say what's up to everybody in the chat real quick. Frank Dominguez, killing it. He's on a hot streak, being number one on the reg. Big D Smoke, Miradul Singh, Bentley Pasco, Alana Suki, Mikey Fishy, Randall Bowman, G-Bear, Michael Sarr, Janice Lumberg, Joel G, Mary Page Flynn, The Zombie Drummer, Sci-Fi Swordsman, Dave Friesen, Big D Smoke, which I said already, Sunwise, Daniel Velez, Texas Andy Aquatics, and Logan Mudd. What's up, everybody? It's a crazy, wild Monday out here in the Monday neck of the woods because we're deep in the heart of Monday. Smack dab in the middle of the workday on a Monday. Yeah, so it's a good day to be a Monday because it's Monday, so why not? Anyhow, it's good to be here today. It's a little bit of weird stuff going on. Just weekend stuff. We had a bunch of weekend stuff going on, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But today, I wanted to talk a little bit about substrates for a minute. I know that there's some people out there that may or may not be confused as to what substrates to buy. And I would say that we are living in a unique time in history where pretty much any need that you have, somebody has developed, whether it be affordable or not, a professional method to get just about anything done. A quick parallel here would be into camera gear, that Canon Cameras has released 2 new cameras that people are losing their minds complaining about that haven't even used them yet, really. Most people are familiar with the terminology of 4K TV, right? Well, Canon has released a camera that records in, what is 8K is? I forget what the multiplier is. It's not double. It's more than that. It's way more than double the recording density, right? It's 8K video, right? And it has a tendency to overheat once it's recording for 22, 28 minutes, something like that. And a lot of people are complaining about this camera. Now, if you want to record in 8K, there are cameras that do that. They cost $60,000. This camera costs $4,000. And it gets hot. It overheats, and you have to let it cool down before you can start filming again, right? It's a very specialty application, and people are complaining that it has limitations for its ability, right? Now, the reason I bring that up is that there is a bit of a parallel when it comes to talking about substrates, right? Substrates in the Planet Aquarium can become quite confusing to people. There are many brands. There's air quote buffering, which gets confusing. It's going to lower the pH. Is it going to raise the pH? Is it going to, there's a lot of terminology on bags, like EcoComplete says, oh, it's got bacteria in it. There's a lot of things happening as far as the advertising stuff goes. Now, EcoComplete, for instance, is ground up volcanic substrate. Most fine volcanic substrate grows most plants, right? Now, if we're talking about fluval stratum, Amazonia, those kinds of things, that has ground up volcanic in it, plus an amendment of other materials to create a substrate that takes the benefits of the vulcanized material and combines it with the organics. And the easy way to explain it, it's the organics from the silt that is left over in the production of agriculturally grown rice. So all that murky stuff in the rice water that filters down to the bottom, that's essentially what they're using. Now, there are so many professional types that I try to explain to people that you can go from the cheapest to the most expensive, and essentially the simple, easy explanation would be the more expensive generally works better. But this might not apply to your application, right? You don't need a $60,000 camera to film your fish tank and never release it out into the world. You know what I'm saying? But a $300 or $400 camera is probably going to do most of what you need it to do. Maybe a $600 camera, maybe an $800 camera. Maybe you get super interested in doing filming stuff and then decide to buy a $3,000 camera or a $5,000 camera. But rarely is anyone ever going to get to the point where we really need to buy a $60,000 camera or a $200,000 car to commute to work, right? For instance. So, what I typically encounter is I would tell people the one-stop answer for substrate in your aquarium would be buy all of the ADA stuff, follow the recommendations on the bag, and put it into your tank that way. Now, I understand that most people are not willing to spend that kind of money, and it would probably be a deterrent to most people getting into the hobby, so they try to find an alternative to save money, right? So my typical explanation for that has been, well, drop down to the Fluval Stratum. It can be much more affordable depending on what country you're in, and is very usable that way. Then I normally get the question of, well, what about like EcoComplete? EcoComplete is certainly a doable. I feel like the cheaper you get, the more you end up into a one-dimensional kind of benefit. So the explanation would be, well, I like to recommend the Fluval Stratum because it's right in the middle ground where it's giving you some of the benefits of the aqua soil. Maybe it's not as good as ADA or some of the other brands out there that are the real top tier, right? But it's going to do most of the things that you need. So then people will ask me, well, what about EcoComplete? What about fluorite? What about those kinds of things? They work great. They're going to require some more work on your end. And then eventually we get down to the Wallstad method where people are like, I want to buy some organic potting soil, then I want to add some gravel to it, then I want to put a sand cap on it. You're going to end up in this much more laborious end of the spectrum, and you're probably going to add more technology to the tank than that application is designed to do. So that's kind of the quick live stream style explanation of talking about plant substrates. Now, the aqua soils are going to give you a lot of the benefits that you want. You want a little bit of ammonia during startup to help bacteria to thrive, right, and continue the cycle, because now that you're adding in all this new stuff, you need some food to cycle the aquarium to give anaerobic bacteria something to feed off of. Whereas organic potting soil or just some gravel substrate, which does work, it's going to probably take you more time to get that beneficial bacteria grown in there to have a healthy environment for your fish once your water and tank have gone through the nitrogen cycle. which if you are not familiar with the nitrogen cycle, I would definitely recommend people to go look up. I know that Alana had mentioned on the Discord, and I'm paraphrasing here. I'm not reading. I didn't save it into my notes. Maybe I should have. But was basically, if you don't know the size of your tank, like how much water you have, whether it's been cycled or not, if you don't know what cycling is, you shouldn't be buying any fish from the store. Now, I appreciate the sentiment, and I definitely feel like the sentiment is accurate and correct. The unfortunate thing is, we have garnered an idea in the United States that the customer is always right, which I believe to be total absurd nonsense. Now, should the customer get in the proper context and situation, should the customer get and be able to buy what they want? Yeah. Should the customer be able to buy an animal and put it into a situation that is not good for it? I don't think so. But as a business owner or whatnot, you can't tell that to a customer because now you suddenly get some backlash as to you're inflicting on somebody's right to purchase something or whatever. I don't know. It's a little bit bizarre to me how many people feel like their civil liberties are being stepped on when they're just told no, you can't do that. Stop doing that. Oh, my microphone is waggling around. So the reason I kind of trying to tie those two thoughts together a little bit is that high-grade aqua soils are going to help you cycle the aquarium without having added any fish and stuff to it, without you having to add anything. That's kind of one of the not so purposeful benefits of an aqua soil itself, is that it will leach some ammonia or ammonium, whichever way you want to describe it, scientifically, yeah. But it is going to do some of that stuff to help jump up a bacterial growth and reproduction that would lead to a healthy environment for your fish without having them in there. So sometimes companies get a benefit from trying to produce something that ends up not being like an intentional thing, but that's one of the benefits of like a Stratum or an ADA, or Oliver Knott sells some now. I believe Landon makes some. There's a whole bunch of companies. Brightwell makes some. There's a bunch of companies making aqua soils now. Basically, companies figured out where it was being made and paid money to get their foot in the door. It's basically how it works these days. And I got something on my face. What is that, a hair? I don't know. Might have been a spider. It may have been a spider, guys. So those companies basically got their foot in the door, figured out where it was. So there's a lot of companies selling that stuff now. They're all like just a little bit different. But the reality is there's a lot of benefits from using aqua soil versus using the other things. And the reason for that is that people put time and energy into developing a product that would do a bunch of things within the tank that sort of just get ignored from your average layperson. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I don't know. I feel like that was just like the worst talking point, but I wanted to talk a little bit about things that were going on and substrates, and I really got to a point where I just read Logan Mudd's comment here, so I'm going to jump into answering that, because why not? Logan says, thoughts on aquarium gravel and root tabs. Now, I have literally grown plants in SpongeBob SquarePants pink gravel, which I recorded a video that talks about me doing that a while back. So that may or may not come out contextually soon. Who knows? But I've grown plants in SpongeBob pink gravel. I have grown plants in aragonite. I've grown plants in pea gravel from a driveway. I've grown plants in dirt from the backyard. I've grown it in lava rock. I've grown plants in obviously Amazonia, stratum, Eco-Complete, all of that kind of stuff. I've tried a bunch of different substrates. Plants will grow. Plants will grow. That's what they're doing. So we're talking about thousands of years of the evolution of these plants. They're going to grow and adapt as best they can within the environment. That doesn't mean that they're going to perfectly adapt to your environment automatically, magically, or anything like that. But they are evolved to a point where they want to grow, they want to reproduce. That's what they're going to want to do. It's the only thing that plants are going to be focusing on doing, you know. So, plants will generally grow if you are accommodating like some of the, I guess if you call it like the 4 pillars or whatever, you know, water/fertilizer, substrate, light, CO2. You know, you basically, if you have some of those 4 handled pretty well, generally speaking, plants are going to grow. If they have some light, some CO2, some water, maybe you got some cheap substrate. Probably not a big deal. But you definitely, in my opinion, want to do your best to accommodate not 100% on any of those pillars, but like let's say 80% all around, instead of having, you know, 3 of those being at 70% and 1 of them being at 10%, right? I would rather see 50, 50, 50, 50 on all of those aspects versus that lopsided whole kind of situation going on. Where did it go? Now, root tabs, like I have not necessarily been a gigantic fan of the root tabs. In my experience, like root tabs do work. I'm not saying that they don't work. I'm saying that in my experience, I have had less than pleasing results from the expectation of most of the root tabs I've had. You got to think most root tabs that come in like a capsule or whatnot, like that capsule is going to melt away really fast, and it's going to leave some fertilizer down in your substrate, which you don't really have any kind of honest methodology to release it at the correct time, you know. Whereas most fertilizers don't really see that much interaction in the ground, right? When they're not in contact with water, right? So most of the interaction that the fertilizer that's in the ground is going to see is, you know, through erosion from water and whatnot. Like if you were to spray a little bit of fertilizer on your ground in your garden or whatnot, it's not going to be interacting too much until you hit it with water. It's either going to erode and wash it away, or it's going to allow it to penetrate the soil better, to kind of sit and stay there where it's at for a period of time. Now, the reason that is applicable is you could really go look up a lot of agricultural studies. I would say the easiest studies to go look up would be growing baseball grass. That is those were the studies that really kind of brought a lot of the connecting pieces together, probably 12 years ago or something like that, when I was getting really in depth to trying to connect underwater plant growth with the agricultural studies. At the time, the big connector for me was the studies done behind growing baseball fields, for whatever reason, which, you know, connects internationally to Asia, like Japan and whatnot. Like they love baseball out there. Korea loves baseball, blah, 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 right? Now, the rest of the world that doesn't do baseball, they do cricket and rugby or soccer, otherwise known as football, in the rest of the world. So there is a market pretty much throughout the world of growing what would be considered the same thing as like a sports field, right? To be growing grass all year round for the use of it being trampled on, mowed often, and it needs to have proper drainage because you can't just have a mud bog out here. So those were the big connecting studies that I was able to locate that connected the moving fertilizer through a substrate and around, and to why I was probably more often than not having issues with root tabs personally, is because the whole entirety of our thing is underwater, right? So water will be constantly moving away that fertilizer that you put into the root tab that you just kind of poke into the substrate and put some substrate over the top of it. It is always going to be in contact with water. Now, somebody out there will probably be a little sassy pants about whatever, but realistically, it's always going to be in contact with water once it's under there, and you don't really know the exchange that's moving the whatever fertilizer it is that you were trying to implement with a root tab itself. So that's why I'm saying that, like, if you try to look at like kind of traditional fertilizing methods, you have to kind of convert that to fertilizing the water column for those reasons, because the water is always going to be in contact with something like a root tab, and going to spread it around and probably just put it into the water column anyhow. So in my experience, using something more coarse as a substrate, so like EcoComplete is almost kind of ground up too much. Like, I wish it was somehow rounded down and it had more of a pumicey shape to it. I think that would probably, facilitate a little bit better, but I don't know. What was I talking about? Totally lost my train of thought. I started thinking about whatever, and I looked over there, and there's an egg sitting up on a salt shaker, and it totally distracted me. So what was I talking about? Because I wanted to get the fertilization's going to here. Oh, so my reasoning behind the aquasoil versus things like EcoComplete or a sand cap or anything like that is that you could have like a sand cap dirt, right? Potting soil, and that can be working for a while, but you really limit your plants to either the detriment of fouling the water column when you go to move something, or simply only being able to root feed, which most plants have some kind of osmotic action with being able to pull nutrients from the water column through osmosis if they are short on something, or if they're able to aerial root to send down roots from up high to be able to get stuff from the water column, or attempt to reach down to get to the substrate. What do we got here? I wish I would have seen Dan's note sooner on him listing them to get some Abs Creek and or... I don't know what that is. Let's see here. Okay. Don't know what that was about. Don't know what that was about in the chat, but I wish you had seen Dan's note earlier too. I don't know. I see Dan Squires is here. He says, "What's up?" And I see Danikin. They just said hello. So I don't know. Anyhow, we'll go back to what I was talking about. But that's kind of one of those things that I look kind of at the aquasoil has the ability to kind of still move some water through the substrate. It does allow that the cation exchange capacity to still operate within the whatever fertilizing it's pulling from the water column to hold on to whatever is missing from that piece of substrate, right? Does that make sense? So the ions floating in the water column that are circulating throughout the tank, if that same ion is taken up by a plant from the piece of from whatever point of contact it's making with the root of a plant to the piece of substrate, right? Piece of substrate, root of the plant takes potassium, say, right? Now, if there's potassium rotating around in the water column and the water column is able to kind of flow through the substrate to a certain degree, it gives an opportunity for that potassium to reattach to the negatively charged. I don't know. I can't remember if it's positive or negative, which direction that covalent bond is supposed to be going in. But it does allow for that opportunity for that, say, potassium to be replenished onto that piece of substrate that it had been taken from. So in working with a system like this, that's kind of some of the overall viewpoint, and in just like working with trying to build a whole entire system as opposed to going, where am I going to be able to save money, right? And yeah, I think that's where I'm at now. On a lighter note, I do have some plans for some smaller tanks. I ordered one a while ago. I checked it out. It looks great. Then, boom, I go to order some more of them so I can try and do a series on those tanks. Currently out of stock, and I can't get more of them until who knows when. So, that is what that is, and there ain't much I can do about that in the meantime. But we are half an hour in, so now I have to do my requisite advertising thing where I go, hey, all of these shows and this produced content that I'm able to make, which doesn't really seem to be doing any better than the content I used to make, so whatever. Oh, man. We had, looks like our membership went down during the show. So I guess we'll have to update that. But this channel, being able to operate, being able to function, and have any kind of budget to make and do projects, because of fans like you guys watching the show and either being members on here or joining up on Patreon, YouTube members has dropped down. I mean, I know that there's a pandemic going on, and I'm not hard selling anything. I just would like to show my appreciation to you guys and let you guys know where we're at. The Patreon has taken a monumental hit. We are now below 50% of where we were before the pandemic. So, yeah, I don't know where the production of this channel is going to be going, if that's the direction that we're headed in, because I don't know. It doesn't make me think that this is a project that I should really keep spending money on, or if I should just go become a roofer or something, you know. I got my handyman gig and I got my jobs and stuff I'm doing, but we definitely lost a lot of jobs this year, so we'll see how it goes. Thanks, pandemic. But we went from 237 patronizers all the way down to 225 over the weekend. That's a fugly. That looks way worse than 237. So I don't know what to tell you. Seems like a bunch of people canceled. Maybe it's because they don't know what's going on. Maybe they don't know what's happening in the world. As G Bear says, how far back did you pull live streams to private? They're not private. They're unlisted, which is different. If they were private, that means that you wouldn't be able to see them whatsoever. They're unlisted, so if you actually have a link, you can go watch them anytime. So if you know what you're looking for and you're able to look it up, because I'm not sure what today's web stream, live stream or whatever looks like. Who knows? I don't know what it's like youtube.com/BRQYZ, whatever it is, 1115934.com. I don't know. I don't know what the link is. It's always some weird web address, but they're still up on YouTube. Just like this video here goes to unlisted after, I think I leave it up for about an hour after the video, after the live stream's over. I leave it up for about an hour, just normal, and then it switches to unlisted. So if you have a link, if you have a notification, like in your email, if you get a notification, or just via YouTube notifications, you can click on it and you can watch the old live stream if you still have the notification. Otherwise, you could go over to onto our Discord if you're somebody who supports the show, and I post them up in there. I haven't posted all of them into the Discord or anything like that. That would take forever and a day, and would likely serve one person at one point in time in the whenever. I don't know. Wesley's Fish Club says, I think on YouTube you can have the live streams in a different list from your main videos. YouTube does not allocate videos that way. So what YouTube does is the analytic machine, the machine learned, it's all computers that does this. It's not a person. There's no person typing anything in. They go in and they program how the algorithm is going to share and send out videos to people, right? And in the reality sense of the word, if I go look at the analytics, hold on, let me look up let's look up a month-old video. So let's see. So we did, hold on, I can look at it right here. So we did this came out June 27th, right? So that's over a month ago, I think. As far as I know. Yeah, I'm no math wizard, you guys. But, so this got straight up 1,000 views. I mean, I think it's maybe a little bit more than that, or it's probably like 1,073 or something. Let's look. 1,035. The watch time was 80 hours. Subscribers was +3. Oh my God, this is one of the first videos in the history of time that I got added subscribers. Estimated revenue was $5.53. So all of the time and work and everything I put into that video, the overall ad revenue was $5.53 after 36 days of it existing. So 36 days, it generated $5, and then I got to pay taxes on that and everything, so it's probably more like $3 realistically. So this video made 10 cents a day, basically. And let's go down here. I'm going to click on the reach, which gives us, so YouTube showed it to 15,400 people. So the thumbnail with the title, that thing, when people scrolled by it on their phone, it showed it to 15,000 people. 484 of them clicked on the video to watch it, to open it up, right? YouTube sent out 2,400 subscriber notifications. That's all of the people that have all of my notifications turned on. 2,400 people got some kind of notification that it sent out, right? 40 people watched it that got a notification. Okay? So, what kind of information can we gather from that? So 2,400 people got a notification. Only 40 of them actually watched it. That's 1.6% of people that got a notification watched it. So 1.6%. Now, YouTube robot machine, the machine that is YouTube, gave it an opportunity for 15,000 people to watch it, and we got 484 views from those people getting the impression, right? So 12 times the amount of views from people that just saw the thumbnail and the title in their like scrolling or whatever, right? So it sent it to you, right? Here's the issue. If I make a thumbnail that is for a live stream that says, today we're going to talk about substrate, right? Probably 90% of those 484 people that would have clicked on that, like let's just call it 500 people, most of those people that would have clicked on that link to come watch that video would have seen the scrolling intro of like waiting for me to talk and be like, nothing's happening in this video. I'll leave. I'm going to go find something else that talks about substrate. So if I'm to respond and exist within a workspace, right, that says, here's the parameters, right, and I just decide, screw it, I'm going to do my own thing, and I'm just going to go my own way, and I'm just going to irritate every person that clicks on a thumbnail, right, gets brought into a live stream that's 3 months old, and I didn't talk about the thing that they wanted to hear about in the first 30 seconds, 4 seconds, 5 seconds, whatever, then they just bounce out. They just leave. Like, oh, that guy sucks. Now, the only person that ever analyzes any of that information is the machine that sends out those notifications, right? So the robot AI, right? The robot artificial intelligence is the only thing, person, whatever, analyzing that information other than me. And whether or not it's going to share out those videos to other people in the future because they only watched 10 seconds of it, got pissed off, and then left, right? So that's the problem, ultimately. Some of the big YouTube channels that I happen to be friends with behind the scenes, that friends is the wrong word, have communications with would be a better way to put it. I mean, email and stuff. So a while back, YouTube essentially said that their metric for whether or not they'll assign a human being to figure out what is going on with a channel, if a channel on YouTube needs help, is 1 million subscribers, right? So you would need to be at 1 million subscribers if you, essentially, if you want to talk to YouTube and be like, hey, this thing's broken, that thing's broken, can you fix this, right? That's the reality, right? That's the reality of the business of that platform. Now, I am all for 100% being able to kind of just do what I want to do, talk to people, do the stuff that I want to do on a live stream. And the reality is we've got 60 people watching right now. That's definitely fluctuating while people are like, he's talking about YouTube, I'm leaving. He's talking about work. You know. And so as much as I would like to do that, realistically, the idea would more be, oh, there's enough funding to continue, you know, paying the bills that need to get paid, and I could just keep doing that, right? But we've never hit that mark. I've never hit that mark on this channel. I've never hit that mark with Patreon. I've never hit that mark with advertising dollars. I've never hit that mark with YouTube members. I have never hit that mark that says, this is your full-time job. Do this all the time, right? I've never hit that mark. Now, understandably, I have had tons of people that are super pissed off that are like, well, if I made $700 a month, I would be able to, like, I'd go full-time. I'd go full tilt. Well, I don't know what to tell you. I'm a 40-year-old man with a daughter and a spouse, and I live in the most economically savvy place in one of the most expensive parts of the world. I live in Western Washington, outside of Seattle. We moved 40 miles away from Seattle so that we could get to a more affordable area, right? Now, Victoria and myself are doing everything we can to just maintain our lives, our livelihoods, all that kind of stuff. Then a pandemic comes along. Everything gets slashed in half and all that kind of stuff, right? So, and it's not like a guilt trip or anything like that. It's just a reality of where we are, you know, like in just the year 2020, all that kind of stuff. You know, when I started doing YouTube in like 2008, it was, you know, riding skateboards down big hills, crashing cars into stuff, lighting things on fire, knocking over trees, blah, 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 right? And we did a ton of that stuff. And then, but I never did any of the editing or the filming or anything. I was the guy who was always, I wouldn't say Steve-O. I would be more of the Johnny Knoxville guy or whatever, like something just I would catch on fire and fall down a hill or whatever, right? I wasn't doing the editing. I wasn't doing the filming. I wasn't doing any of that kind of stuff. The first video that I put up as far as fish content went was just me with like an iPod walking around, just showing off the current tanks that I had at the time. Everything back then was in flux. I was always selling tanks. I was buying dollar per gallon sale tanks. I was buying used tanks off of Craigslist. I was selling tanks, blah, blah, blah. Stuff was coming in. Stuff was coming out. Things were catching on fire on a regular basis, right? So then I got into it, and it's been a slow grind to get to this point where I'm at now. And I'm going to keep doing it the best that I can. But I've never been at that point. I've never been at that point where I was like, this is the thing I get to do full time. I've always had to work side jobs, the weekends, the nights, all that kind of stuff to try and do it. And now I have a daughter and a pandemic. So we have not only a pandemic, but we have a daughter, we have a mortgage, we have all this stuff. And I'm just going to keep, you know, it's August. What do you want me to do? Just keep doing what I'm doing. Aqua Spirit says, man, got to do what needs to be done. Take care of their family. The aquarium hobby will still be here. Yeah, I mean, that's the reality. Like, I'm going to keep making videos and doing that kind of stuff and whatnot. And I guess, like, what kind of spurred this whole thing was, I guess, trying to talk about, like, what's going on with Patreon. Like, thank you very much for everybody on Patreon, everybody who's a member on YouTube. Thank you 100%, bottom of my heart. That's where we're at. But also, there's a pandemic going on, so we all got to figure out, like, what's happening. I recently got a good friend of mine that owns he owns a small manufacturing company, right? We recently got in a big kind of pseudo-personal argument with some friends of ours that live up in the mountains, right? And the person that's living up in the mountains is sort of this libertarian kind of guy. He does aquaponics and hydroponics and that kind of stuff. And, you know, he had a lot to say about, you know, people living in the, you know, in the city, near the city, whatever, that kind of stuff. And, you know, he's like, well, what are you guys trying to do for your community? And I'm honestly trying to do the best I can for my community. I'm, you know, buying freeze-dried food so that in case this pandemic continues to get out of control and something happens with the food supply chain, which people keep telling me nothing will happen to the food supply chain. I'm going to tell you first and foremost, Did you ever think we'd run out of toilet paper? Did you ever think there'd be no toilet paper in any store? Right? Did everybody forget? Did everybody forget when all of a sudden people just kind of panic bought a little bit extra toilet paper, like we just ran out? So yeah, I am doing the little bits by little bits that I can within my community to try and donate and get those things kind of spread around and get things prepared for the eventuality. And it was one of those things that, you know, I had to bring up into that conversation a little bit of like, if we're not thinking about the community that we live in, it seems difficult for me to people to have any kind of perspective about the rest of the world, or even in the context of keeping fish and plants and stuff like that, if whether or not we can actually combine the science that is being collected from around the world. Do we even accept the science on, like, where do rummy nose tetras come from? Well, sorry, I'm sorry, I don't listen to things that come from other countries or anything like that, right? And I feel like if we're not even doing anything personally in our own community here, I really wonder the veracity of people's arguments about the world and the direction that we're headed in and stuff. And whether that makes sense right now, just talking off the top of my head, it probably doesn't. Maybe at some point in time. Maybe I'll make a video about it or something like that. But, yeah, I think just kind of needless to say, things are a little bit stressful right now. And I've never really, oh, that's what it was about. Who was asking? I don't want to get your name wrong. Somebody was asking about it. Who was it? Oh, crap. I can't find you in the chat now. Oh, I think G-Bear was asking about it, about the Fish Lives going private, yeah. And, you know, that's the thing, is that, like, these live streams are likely to go private. People have asked me to go on to Twitch, to go on to other platforms to do live streams and stuff like that. And I'm going to be brutally honest with you guys. I don't think I'm bringing fish content to Twitch. So maybe somebody else do live streams about fish tank stuff on Twitch. I don't know. I don't know if I would really be at the point that I'm going to put a ton of effort into trying to bring fish tanks to Twitch. I don't know. Chuck Davis says, thoughts on bringing plants from the wild into the home aquarium. Treatments? Yes, treatments are a good idea. In a relative way. You know, when you're talking about plants, you're talking about something that is fairly delicate, realistically, and bringing it from the outside into an aquarium, it's going to experience a very big environmental shift, mainly because those plants have, you're going to be the initial point of contact to try and convert them into an aquarium life. So take that into consideration first. First things first, that's what I would do, is I would bring a water sample home so you can test it, so that you can try and get the parameters close, you know, so you can try and get the base parameters close for adaptation. Take a digital thermometer with you so you can figure out what the temperature of the water is where you're getting it from. That's useful also. So combine those two things of like, okay, I'm going to try and get the parameters fairly close. Now, as far as treatments go, now I typically would do Melifix. Is it Melifix? Or Pimafix? Is it Melifix or Pimafix? I don't know. Do both. Why not? But at a very high concentration for about 4 minutes is typically what I would do. Is Melifix, right? Melifix, I think, is correct. All right, now I'm looking it up. Guy. Oh, that reminds me, I gotta buy some more nicotine gum. Melifix, Pimafix. Nope, it's Pimafix. It's Melifix. It's Melifix, it's Pimafix. Pimafix is fungal. Melifix antibacterial. Yeah, there we go. I normally do Melifix because I don't have Pimafix on hand, and I can't remember them without looking at them because I've damaged my brain too significantly. I often need to look at things and then go, oh yeah, and I remember. Right now, I'm currently formulating some arguments against just how bad the opportunity zones that have been implemented by the U.S. government. If you guys go look that up and get yourself kind of familiar with it, but it is the new, it's one of the new forms of Jim Crow, which is interestingly bad. But yeah, go look up those opportunity zones if that's something that interests you. But I'm not going to get too wildly into it today. If you guys are interested in that conversation, that will be August the 15th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 12 days from now. August the 15th is a Saturday. That will be our book club. And the book club book of the month. Oh, I got to find the link. Hold on. The book club book of the month is, let me find the link because I'm supposed to promote my Amazon affiliate so that we can try and make money, I guess, right? Isn't that the thing? I hate money. I hate even having anything to do with money. I don't want anything to do with money. I realistically don't. I honestly don't. I wish we lived in a society that had sorted that kind of stuff out so that we weren't beholden to always having this thing hanging over our heads so that we could just work on the stuff that we want to work on, but that is not reality. So, I have an Amazon affiliate, and if you click on the link, we'll make a small percentage of the sale, and I have to say that because the Federal Trade Commission demands that I say that. So, now back to the Pimafix Melifix thing. So, what you're going to want to do is just set up a little, like, 1-gallon container, you know, that's a wide mouth. I don't have one of the containers here, but it's a Lexan container that, hold on. I guess since I'm getting Amazon links, I might as well get something so you guys can see. And I wonder what it would be under. I think it's in my Amazon store, but who knows? Let me just find one, and we'll take a second. So the ones that I use are... Oh, they're actually not Lexan. They're Cambro. Cambro's is the company. That is a 6-quart. I do not like the 6-quart. I prefer the 8-quart because it's kind of tall enough. Where's the 8-quart? Oh, well, here's one that's a 12-quart. This seems to be reasonably priced. It may be a little bit difficult because it's the wide body. Oh, here we go. 8-quart, $12. Look at that. And by the way, these things aren't completely indestructible. They're just hard to destruct. Does that make sense? They're not indestructible. They're just difficult to destruct. Control V. Here we go. Clear. Has little handles on it. They're very difficult to break. And they're easy to see through. They're easy to clean. These are very easy to wash. You can put them in your dishwasher. You can wash them with hand soap. It cleans them out. They have markers on the side to tell you what your measurements are at so that you can fill it with water. Then you can add whatever chemical you want to it. So Pimafix, Melifix. I normally do the Melifix at like 5 or 8 times the amount that you're supposed to, right? Drop those plants in there for like 4 or 5 minutes. So you have a high enough concentration of something that is essentially, Melifix is like tea tree oil that's safe. You know, it's basically, it's not the cheapo tea tree oil. It doesn't have any like additives of smells or any of that kind of stuff added to it. It's basically, you know, animal safe Melifix kind of deal, right? Tea tree oil. It will disperse into the water column properly. Blah, 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 blah. You get the idea. It's made for aquariums, right? Now, I do a high concentration in there. I dip it in there for like 5 minutes. And generally speaking, Then I put it into another container with fish tank water to rinse it off. And that, generally speaking, this is not 100%. It's not fool safe. It's not safe fool. It's fool safe. It's safe fool. No. It's not 100% safe. It's not going to be the perfect thing. It is the method that I have used over the years that has given me fairly good return to not get parasites, fungus, any of that kind of stuff into my tanks. And as I hopefully mentioned well enough, it's not perfect. It's not, I kept saying fool safe, fail safe. But it is a way that I have not introduced as much stuff from out in nature, finding stuff and bringing it home and putting it into an aquarium. The other opportunity that you could do is set up a whole separate aquarium that is just for converting things from outdoors. Only ever put that stuff in there, but then you're going to have to dip those. That was a sneeze that came out of nowhere. Whoa. Man, my sinus has been kicking lately. Booger city, man. And weird sneezes that come out of nowhere. I don't know. But that should work. You can set up a whole nother tank. I don't recommend that. You're going to end up with an extra product. You're going to end up with an extra thing. And that's going to be a little bit of wasted effort, time, money, fundage, all that, whatever. So, a couple options for you. We'll see. Jeez, we got a bunch of super chats here. I went on a wild rant, and some of our longtime supporters have dropped some super chats in here. Joel G., who is not only a member, but also a client of the hair club. We both have hair. Says, one day we'll meet in real life and elbow bump. I think, Mr. Gillett, hopefully we'll meet in real life and have a warm, friendly embrace with the old the back pat, so we know it's not romantic, it's friendly. You got to pat him on the back, right? Is that how that works? You know, if you get the rub, that's romantic. If you get the pat, that's friends, right? I think that's how that works. Steve Bearteach, $10 super chat's huge. It's yellow. It's bright yellow super chat. Says, good show today. Appreciate the in-depth fish discussion. I don't even know that I got in-depth. Did I get in-depth? I don't know. I just went on a rambling rant, and now my alarm's going off. I better turn this off. It's probably copywritten. Probably copywritten, and I'll get a strike on YouTube for playing an alarm on accident. Vicky is messaging me during the show. Okay. What? Oh, we got a new patronizer, Mr. Raul. Shout out to Raul becoming a Patreon. Holy crap, Raul becoming a Patreon during the show. Became a patronizer. There we go. So we got to update this number right here. Whoops. Am I clicking on the right? I'm clicking on the wrong thing. There we go. It moved. You see it move? It's no longer lined up anymore. But now we're up to 226. It feels better to go in the upward direction. It always just feels better to go in the upward direction. I don't know about you guys, but that's just generally how I feel. Mikey Fishy says, let's monetize this thing with a $5 super chat. Thank you very much. Dan Squires with a €5. That's a €5. Super chat says, agreed. We got to share the love. Hey, man, I appreciate it. You guys are longtime supporters. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. What was sandwiched in there? Aqua Spirit. Man, gotta do. Oh, I already answered that. Brian Klimazweski. Just keep up the good work. Got to get the baby up and around. Ooh. Time to get that baby up and around. Ooh. Steve says, your hobby-related content is on point. Nobody does it better. You are undervalued and undercompensated by YouTube. I believe I'm exactly compensated the way that YouTube wants it to be. And to be really honest, it's one of the reasons that, we had to unlist some of the live streams, is that we get exposed to new people, and they're like, Can't deal with this. So I've been focusing on creating more content that, regardless of what year it is, what time of day it is, what week of the year it is, all that kind of stuff, does a good job of answering a question that somebody might be looking for, right? So, I mean, that's like my focus. That's just kind of my focus at this point. You know, doing the live streams, I can be kind of loose. I can answer questions about different things, and also just kind of ramble on about stuff that's in my head, and hopefully sparks some kind of interest from somebody that goes, oh, hey, I heard that guy talking about that thing, and I want to go learn about that thing, you know, and that's kind of what I'm all about anyhow. But, you know, for instance, the Lobelia cardinalis, right? That's kind of one of the newest videos from just a couple days ago. Hopefully it answers some questions about Lobelia for those people that are like, they type it in and they search it out, and then they go, you know, they search it out. Then they go and they watch the video, and even if it's 2024, barring the end of the world, that they would go to look it up, and they would go, oh, it would come up on YouTube, and they go like, oh, okay, maybe I learned some stuff about that plant, and maybe it's something you want to do, maybe it's something you don't want to do, but they take some value away, and that's kind of the whole focus that I'm on now. Chandra Sakar says, what's your best filtration suggestion for a 20-gallon? Your tanks are really clean. Obviously, you could set up a gigantic sump underneath it, and I have done that in the past as sort of a gas, you know, sort of a joke, goofing around. But it realistically does work. You could put a 100-gallon sump underneath it, and that'd be wildly good filtration for a 20-gallon. And I may or may not be doing that in the all too near future. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. I might be doing a 10-gallon with a 150-gallon sump. Who knows? But realistically, on a 20-gallon, just a standard issue aquarium, 100%, my first and always recommendation is the, what is it? I was going to say the AquaClear 50. That is not the right one. We want the AquaClear 30. Yeah, there it is. Wait. Hold on. Yes, the 30. Or the 50. You could do the 50 if you want. But right now we're talking about, let's see. Over here on my end, over here in my neck of the woods, over here in my neck of the woods on Amazon, it is $32.99 for the AquaClear 30 with a $3.30 coupon. Oh, no, that's the first subscribe and save order only. Okay. So $32.99, and I guess if you set up for a subscription, you're going to save $3 or whatever. I don't know. But $32.99. Comes with biomedia, comes with a sponge. I think it comes with charcoal even, which I wouldn't put the carbon in there. I wouldn't put the charcoal in there to start out. I would just save it in a box in case you ever need it later on. I would personally, I would look into getting some more biomedia to add in there to supplement the little bag. That's realistically that's the best filter that has worked for years. I still have AquaClear filters that are super old that work more or less like they did when they were new. Some minor fixes and cleanings and things like that over the years, sure, but still the best classic filter of all time. My favorite filter of all time is the AquaClear Hang On Back. You want to take pictures of your tank? Take the filter off, take your pictures, put the filter back on. I don't know how many people have brought up to me over the years that they're like, I don't know, man, the Hang On Back filter is super ugly. I'm like, okay. So is the heater. You're going to take pictures, you're probably going to have to take that stuff out anyhow. So just get the AquaClear filter. They work really well. They're easy to deal with. Warranty, blah, 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 all that kind of crap. That's my favorite filter for show. Oh, my God. We have another patronizer during the show. Chandra Sakar becoming a Patreon during the show. What do we do with that? What do we do there? Can I even click the thing? Oh, Lordy, it's a fire. This thing will not let me. Fine. I'll put the name here. I'll put the name of the channel on my face so that I can click on this instead. 27. 227 is better than 225, right? That's the rules of capitalism, that more is better always forever, right? There. Yeah. I got to have some drinks of coffee here. That's a whole bunch of coffee, my guy. My throat was starting to get, you know what I'm saying? Right into the mic. Sorry, I probably blew out somebody's ears, and that's rude of me to do. My apologies. Anyhow, so back onto what is going on in the chat. Get a $10 super chat from my boy, your boy Dennis, Mr. Big D Smoke. Says, I heard something about monetization while getting dressed. What are you doing getting dressed at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, my guy? I mean, I know you're home all the time. So dressed is a real relative term, right? You know, your dressed might be a sock. Who knows? Let's see what we got going on over here. Let me click that and make sure that's working. Okay. Now let's find a new comment. Dan Squires, I found some fish in my tank last week that I've never seen before. Could they have come in as eggs on a plant? Yes. Probably killifish. Those are probably killies, if I had to guess. I personally have had that happen to me on numerous occasions, mostly when things were purchased at a less than reputable store. That might not be your experience, so don't get mad at me. It's not necessarily what I'm saying. But less than reputable stores, I've had that happen. But I have actively done that to myself, not knowing it. So it's not as though they're like doing it on purpose or anything like that. But I took a piece of driftwood out of one of my big tanks, put it up into the attic of my garage, completely dried it out, put it up in the attic, went out and put it into another tank a year later, and we had clown killies in like a month. We're just like, what are these clown killies doing here? I don't even have this fish anymore. I'd sold those off long time. So, yeah, it definitely happens. Alanis says, reminds me I should clean my sponge inside the filter. Yes, you should clean your sponge inside the filter. The AquaClear sponges last probably 3 or 4 cleanings before they start to kind of disintegrate a little bit and become less effective. Dan Squires is answering some kind of question. Dan, Joel has Patreon and membership. There's another link for Patreon and another to become a member. Am I confusing you? Who's asking? Oh, Dan says, sorry, guys, got to go. Hope everyone stays safe. Joel, keep up the good work. I don't know. I feel like somebody's answering questions to somebody named Dan that I can't see in the chat. Am I losing my mind? Oh, Janice Lundberg says, can, oh, there it is. Okay, Dan. Oh, can you put the membership link in the chat? Oh, yeah. Okay, so it's a little bit confusing. Patreon is a separate page, right? And Dan Squires has the link right there. It's www.patreon.com/Joel_C. That's me. And that's our Patreon page, which is a third-party hosted page. It's basically a little website that people can go to if you want to, if you're somebody that doesn't want to join up on YouTube, but you want to help support the channel, and you're like, I want to do $1.35 a month or $1.69. Nice. A month, you could do that on Patreon because you could put whatever number you wanted in there. And by the way, I actually I had a goofy conversation with as I mentioned, I was talking with some guys I know that own businesses and whatnot, and they were asking about potentially sponsoring the channel and what would it cost to sponsor somebody like me, and I wouldn't have to go to work out and do other jobs. They were asking what that number was, and I said, just go look at my Patreon. It's the top tier on there. And of course, one of those smart guys were like, well, what if it was only 10 grand a month? Is that enough? And I was like, yeah, I mean, we could cross that bridge if somebody's willing to go there, but no one's ever been willing to go there. Although we did have a really big sponsor that was going to sponsor a project, which was going to be rad earlier this year, but when the pandemic broke out, that got the kibosh. And I'm not going to say what the company is, but it was a very big, recognizable company that was going to pay to do the project. Not me, but like all the materials and all that kind of stuff was going to be really cool. Not even fish related at all, but it was going to be really cool. So I hate this pandemic. I'm so mad. I'm so mad that that's what's going on. Dan Squires, I got a free Synodontis. Synodotus. Is that right? Synodontis? I've always probably said it wrong. From a bit of wood with Java from the same store once. Yeah, sounds like the store might just be a little loose with, I guess, separating their fish and kind of, I don't know. Maybe it's just a really naturally run store where everybody's breeding so much they can't even keep track of it. You know what I mean? It could be it. I'm going to scroll up the chat here to see if we got something to talk about for the next little bit of time. Man, my throat is getting really gnarly, and I keep clearing my throat into the microphone, which is gross, and it's probably blowing out people's ears. And maybe one of these days I'll learn to not do that anymore. I need to get one of those stream decks so I could have a mute button right here. A cough button. Let's see what we got. Let's see what we got. See what we got. Let's see what we got. Paula Kreinberg says, I did not get a notification. I looked for it this morning. All my notifications are on. I think something is screwy. You're probably right. I have no idea how to qualify like what's going on with people's settings. It's more often than not something on your end as far as like a spam filter in your email or some kind of notification setting on your phone. So, all right, let me do this real quick. Let me go to YouTube on my phone. I'm not going to do a screenshot or anything, but if I go to, hold on. Yeah, so if you click on YouTube and then in the upper right-hand corner, you click on your icon of yourself, then there's a settings button down at the bottom, and this doesn't look like it's really showing anything. So, general, restricted mode. So you end up with a screen that looks kind of like this, right? So you get general settings, which you can see like most of mine on there are all turned off. Now, I'm not sure. Notifications, there it is. So there's a whole notification settings within YouTube, which I don't know if this will... There we go. Camera 1, camera 2, camera 1, camera 2. I don't know. Well, it's not picking up the text on there. But the mobile notifications, suggested digest, I have that turned off. Subscriptions, I have turned on. Channel settings, recommended videos, activity on my channel, activity on my comments, community post suggestions, activity on my comments, mentions, shared content, product updates, watch on TV. I don't know what that is. I'm going to turn that off. But what ends up happening is that people go in and they get irritated because they got notifications for whatever that they didn't want to see, right? They eventually go in and turn all those off. So I have all the specific ones turned on, and I don't know how many times I've had to have this conversation a little bit. But if it's going just to your email, it's likely getting grabbed and going to a spam filter or something like that. Or your YouTube account within your computer is not sending out you an email. Like you might have it turned off in your computer too. That is a definite possibility. Or it's going to a spam filter or whatever, because maybe you're getting 50 YouTube notifications a day. I don't know, but you know what I mean? So that's probably what's going on. I don't know. That was a weird sidebar kind of situation, but whatever. Foster's Fish says, Joel, recommendations on antibiotic or other treatments for cyanobacteria. I can't remember the... Ah, crap. It was like there and then it went away. Hold on. Let me double check. Cyano... having a brain fart. I'll admit it. Erythromycin. Yeah, API. Here it is. This is the one I've used in the past. This would be like... This would be like out there for me. If I got to that cyano... Wait, hold on. What happened here? Yeah, here we go. Oh, yeah. There's a Marine Depot one right there. There's a bunch of treatments. Yeah, so there's like Blue Life, but that's for saltwater tanks, reef. It's really weird to get cyano in a freshwater tank. I would do like a broad spectrum erythromycin or something like that if that was the case. Realistically, if you get cyano in a freshwater tank, you've just got like some wacky stuff going on. And that means more often than not, in my experience, and I'm not calling you out personally or anything like that, is that more often than not, people have gotten lax on maintenance of that tank. So typically what I would honestly do is water vac the crap out of it. So I probably wouldn't even use a Python. I'd probably just use a straight hose. Just go through and start removing it as much as possible. Really put the Python attachment back on and filter substrate really good. Keep doing water changes. And work your way through it, because it's not as detrimental in freshwater if that was the case, or if you actually had cyanobacteria. You probably just have an algae that's gross. Now, in saltwater, it's more of a problem. But freshwater, it's really almost always maintenance-based, or your source water is adding whatever would be the equivalent of not having the maintenance program that I would consider to be working well, right? So that's, that would be my initial recommendation, is like start do the legwork, test your source water, and just get it cleaned up, get it removed, get it out of there if that's what's going on. If it does turn out to just be like kind of blue-green algae or whatever, something like that, then likely that'll clear up too. So, I just keep going that route, and you'll likely be getting where you're going. Jerry X, what's up, my guy? Says, hi, I set up my daughter with a red cherry shrimp tank, and I can't figure out how to advise her on how much to feed. About 40 assorted size shrimps, please advise. With cherry shrimp, you really don't need to be feeding all that much. I think I would, 40 shrimp, I would feed, one little tab of Shirakura or something like that, a week. Realistically, the rest should just become from leftover fish food or just whatever biofilm and little biofilm and critters like that they're getting. Shirakura. There we go. I got it right. Here you go. And anybody that's wondering, I have a link here. Shirakura has been long-standing my favorite shrimp food. There it is. Let me make sure I get the right one. I last purchased this on May 10th. Oh my gosh, and it's August, and I'm still going strong on this one. So I've still got 1.5 of these left. I know it's $20, but you're talking about one of those little wafers a week. Not that big of an investment. I mean, the damn thing, as long as you don't get it wet inside the bag, it will last you a really long time. It's got a Ziploc top. You'll be fine. It'll zip it up, keep the air out, keep the water out. Very, very simple way to feed shrimp, regardless of crystal shrimp, cherry shrimp, doesn't matter. You'll be fine and dandy. Like so a candy. I need to get my window back open here. There we go. Dead by Now says, I found an unusual aquatic grass-like plant in my nearby lake, and I'm having a hard time identifying it. It's probably invasive. It's probably milfoil or something. Who knows? With questions like that, I would normally, if you remember or something like that, I would say get into the Discord so you could post some pictures of it. But that seems like a very self-serving recommendation. I don't know. And I know that it sounds rude when I tell people that, and they're like, I don't have money to become a member or whatever. I don't know what to tell you, Goods and services like live streaming is starting to become taxable in a lot of counties in the United States. So whatever it is I'm doing is considered a product now by lots of portions of the United States. So I don't know what to tell you all, but if it feels like this is a taxable product because it's a product, if it's taxable, then maybe I am making a product and it is worth paying for. I don't know. But that's one of the reasons that we set up the Discord. That's one of the reasons that it's not just publicly open. I've been involved in public Discords before where there's just too many people in there and it's just incessant, constant notifications and stuff like that, and it's just too much. But yeah, if you do find a plant like that, I would recommend posting it up on a social media or something like that, so that people could take a look at it, and you might just have some kind of local grass that maybe you never noticed before. But if it is invasive, I would definitely recommend, hey, quit disturbing the show with your buckets. You're disturbing the show with your bucketing. It's too much buckets, lady. Vicky's up there putting away some buckets. But if it does turn out to be invasive, it would be good to notify some people locally. So hopefully you might be able to get some community interest in possibly cleaning that up and, just save the ecology of that area a little bit. Overfeeding is the number one way to kill shrimp, especially in a new small tank. Yep. Small water changes with small shrimp tanks. Often. Do small water changes often. Often. They're sort of like doing beta water changes. I mean, you can literally just scoop a couple, what are those, like 2 pint, like it's like a double pint container. A couple of those out. Put some new in. Just bing, bing, bang, boom. Super easy. Bing, bing, bang, bong. Bang, bang, bang. It's too much buckets, lady. Yeah, she's up there like stacking up 5-gallon buckets and like moving them around. So I have to yell at her because it's funny. I was just joking. She's my lovely lady, and I love her so much. So much. I love Victoria. We made a baby. That's my new song. We made a baby. Reading. Dan says that's why you buy a good mic. Well, I bought a good mic so it would sound better. Yeah. All right. 1.5 hours. Looks like we're getting up to the. Well, maybe we'll. I don't know. Let me see. Let's scroll way back. Let's see. Somebody was asking about something. Big D Smokes says I'm thinking of mixing stratum and fluorite black sand for my Fahaka puffer tank. I like the pool filter sand he has now, and plants grow in it, but the diatom. Yeah, diatoms will definitely get out of hand with the pool filter sand. It's a elevated silicates in the water column. Generally the main contributor to that point. Texas Andy says, I like what you're talking about. I hate when people say you have to buy a fancy substrate, lights, CO2, etc., but a lot of people just can't afford it. Plants can and will grow in basically anything done correctly. Yes, that is very true. Donald's Fish Vibe says the concept of the customer is always right. It's not a simple statement. Yeah, it's not a simple statement. Yeah, looks like, all right. Okay, we're all the way back there. Will M says your content as well as access to the Discord, and a super chat, by the way. Your content as well as the access to the Discord with this great community is worth the $10 a month. I wish I could do more. Well, you just did. You just did another $5. So, hey, I appreciate it. And I appreciate you guys being a part of the community too, man. Big time. Bracken, oh my God, where's Bracken been? This damn pandemic. Can't be hanging out with Bracken. Everybody's got coronavirus. What is the perfect small size planted tank? Been thinking about 40 breeder, but not sure of something like a 29 or 30 cube would be better. The perfect size? I think the perfect small size is like the 60p, which is, I think, 17.1 gallons or something like that. I think. Let me see. 60p low iron. I think. Yeah. So I think there's 17.1. Yeah, 17.1 gallons is probably I think if I was going to do some small tanks, I would do the 60p from Landon, these guys. That's probably the one that I would go for, I think, realistically. And I would say that my reasoning behind that is like the 60p is basically the competition tank, right? Basically anytime you see a tank in an aquascaping competition or something, this is generally the size. So I forget what it is. So it's 45 centimeters by 27 centimeters by 30 centimeters. Or no, that's not right. 60 centimeters by 30 by 36. Excuse me. I don't know. I'm getting like phlegm in my throat, and I'm clearing my throat and yelling and being weird. Ugh. Hope people hit the dislike button for screaming and coughing into the microphone. There. Okay. Whew. We saved it. Okay, there we go. But that's basically the size of tank that you see whenever you see competitions is that tank. It's like the 60p. So I think if I was going to do a small tank again, that's probably what I would do. I would probably go for that one. So it's like 17.1. And then chances are I probably would do a couple of them. Realistically, I realistically would probably end up doing a couple of them. As Dan says, it's 2 foot by 1 foot by 1 foot. Yeah. James Shepard, the question here, says, "Hey Joel, love the channel as always. Just noticed I have some detritus worms in my cherry shrimp tank. Are they bad?" Depends on it. It depends on the detritus worm. If they have that weird arrowhead on them, they're likely the planaria, and if they are that noticeable in size and they have the arrowhead on them, those are the ones you're going to want to get rid of. I continued to battle them I don't know what you want to call it, the basic way. Like, I was continuing to battle them, like, manually, trapping them, removing them, and stuff like that. Eventually, they wore me down, so I added chemicals to the tank and got rid of them. There wasn't much else I could do about it. All right. Let's see. Yeah, so if they're bad, I would Panicure C that tank. If they're the planaria with the arrowhead, it's basically what you're looking for. I was looking to see if I had... I might have a picture. Let me see. Let me double check. I think I have some planaria pictures in here somewhere. I'm going to have to look. Oh, yeah. Ooh. This guy. If it's this guy and it has the arrow-shaped head like this. Oh, where's my arrow? I was going to say I would get excited for the arrow, but it's just not very exciting today, guys. So the arrow is not as exciting as normal. You see this arrow-shaped head? You got planaria like that. I mean, you could try and trap them and get rid of them and that kind of stuff. But even I gave up. Even I gave up on mechanical removal and just ended up getting rid of them, Is it the best way? I don't know what the best way is. I just had to nuke the tank. Yeah, as Alyssa says, that no planaria crap basically spelled the end to my crystal shrimp tank as well. Yes, it actually, it ended up, one of the reasons I say, like, don't do chemicals is it leads to bad outcomes a lot. And even me personally, I realistically, personally, what's the word? What's the word I'm looking for here, guys? I was looking for a word. What is the word? It just had a train crash in my brain again today. But the no planaria basically killed my pinto shrimp, but it's an overall benefit for the tank because the planaria just continued to get out of control and out of control and out of control and out of control. And there was enough in to be able to battle back. I think that realistically, they're just going to keep battling back. And I was never going to win the war. So I went ahead and I did it. Chemical the tank. Killed the pinto shrimp. All the cherry shrimps seem to have survived, but that definitely imbalanced that tank a little bit too, because it definitely nuked a bunch of stuff. So, but got the planaria out of there. Had to do what I had to do. Alyssa says, why am I not green anymore? No, I think I must have my membership set up on the wrong card. Oh, yeah, that's normally what I get from people, is that they're like, oh, no, my membership is not, I didn't do anything. I didn't cancel. Why am I not a member anymore? It's like, your card expired. Like, if your card expired, that's a problem. That's something that you should, you should take care of on your end, because I can't do that for anybody else. And I think, the reality is, like, I probably could figure out how to get somebody's credit card reinstated, but that seems like a shitload of work for me to get involved in, and it'd likely be fraud and jail time and all that kind of stuff just to like fix somebody's credit card for them, like renew it, That would be weird. That'd be a weird thing. That'd be a weird thing to like risk jail time to update somebody's credit card for them. Does that make sense? That would be weird. I don't know if that's a route that anybody would want to go down. We got a 5 pound. Is that 5 pound or is that €5? That's 5 pound. Ooh. That's how we know it's real. Coming all the way from the UK. It says, thanks from my beautiful wonderful daughter, Maisie. I bet you she is wonderful. I mean, I got to tell you, I'm around kids more often than not these days. And by kids, I mean like other people's kids and my kid. Other people's kids sometimes. Like the lady that runs the school. Like Olivia hangs out with her daycare's teacher's daughter. Is that weird? The daughter at daycare's. I don't know. The teacher from Olivia's daycare's daughter. Oh, man, that is a weird thing to get out of my mouth. I don't know why that was difficult, but it is what it is. But around those kids and then our neighbor kids that, yeah, kids are great, man. What do you want me to do? Bria Bort? Who's Bria Bort? Oh. Baita Bort. Would you have a stream where you look at pictures, short videos at beginners, or people are just wanting to show their aquariums and get some nice comments and inspiration talks from you? I do that on Discord, and I also do that like the Patreon posts from Baita Bort is asking, would you have a stream where you would look at pictures, short videos, beginners? I've done fish tank review and stuff like that in the past. While I get that it can be entertaining and funny and that kind of stuff, I don't see a lot of long-term value in making those videos. So I've did a few of them a while ago, and the reality is like my following subscribers, whatever you want to call the people that watch this channel, we're realistically like not that interested. Honestly not that interested. Like not that they didn't like it or they weren't like, oh, that was fun, but I think it's just really like they weren't that interested. And I think if I'm going to make a 10 or a 15-minute video or whatever. Like, I think it's more important long term to like share some information that could help people. Like, I think that's the main thing I like to do on YouTube, is be in some shape or form helpful, right? Comedy is joyful. Comedy is great. But I generally like to focus on being helpful. I would love to do a comedy channel and do sketch comedy and stuff like that. Again, I used to do sketch comedy, like what do you call that? Improv and goofy stuff like that, just for fun every once in a while. I definitely was not doing it all the time or anything like that, but I was doing it for fun. You know, basically people knew me from the troupe, and then they would call me if they were short people, like if somebody was out sick or something like that, and they needed somebody to come do, improv. And I was like on the call sheet, basically like, hey, we need somebody to come down and be a goofball on stage. Like, I could do that, but I really think that, like Gus Johnson does comedies better than I do. So what do you want me to do? Like, compete with that? I don't want to compete with that. Foster Fish says, sounds like you need a couple more chugs of coffee. Yeah, I basically do. I'm always tired. You guys just learn to always be tired. Oh, ABT, always be tired. I should make a t-shirt about that. I should make a t-shirt that says ABT on it. Always be tired. Anyhow, let's wrap up the show because I'm rambling on constantly. It's Monday. What do you want me to do? It's really rambly on Monday. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying. Joel G, Steve Bertich. There we go. I said Bertich. Bertich is the right way to say it. Mikey Fishy, Dan Squires, Big D Smoke, Will M, and Jerry X. Super chatters of the day. Thank you very much. I very much appreciate your guys' support. Like, I literally, half of the super chat total volume comes from my two local guys who I could, like, if I could throw a rock, like, really far, I'd probably hit one of their houses. And by that, I mean like a couple miles, you know what I mean? So we got those locals. We got those super chats that are not local coming from across the pond. And the other ones, I don't know where they're coming from. But very much appreciate you guys. And I will talk to you on the other side of